80,000 people a day go through Versailles. So we had to start at 7 p.m., bring in all our equipment, our cameras, our lights were like on these big trucks that went out the side, the Hall of Mirrors, and then they'd all raise up like machines, pointing the lights inside. And then we would finish shooting at 6 a.m. All the lights would come down and drive out in a straight line, and not one cable was left on the ground, so the crowds could come in. So it made it challenging, but we got to shoot in the real location, and that's why it looks so real, because it's really where we did it.
Hello, it is I, the Sun Critic, and today I'm talking to Sean McNamara, who's the director of The King's Daughter, which is a loose historical fiction drama that is based on King Louis XIV and a bunch of crazy stuff. We're going to talk to him in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you. Welcome to my court, Sean.
Bonjour, man. You look great. I cannot believe this. That is genius. Wow, man.
I mean, your amazing sets and costumes inspired me to go all out for this interview. So thanks so much.
I got to take a picture of this so that I don't forget this moment. I'm sorry I'm doing this on live time, but you look so cool. I just have to just be like, oh my God, this is a memory.
There we go. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Sean McNamara, the director of The King's Daughter, which is coming to theaters on January 21st, 2022. It is a historical drama fantasy movie that is loosely based on Louis XIV, the Sun King. So I dressed up as, Louis XIV, Captain Hook, somewhere in between, and I'm ready to talk. Let's go.
All right. You look just like him. I mean, you really do. When you even go around Versailles, that's what he looked like.
Perfect. Well, maybe I'll try to sneak in and try to get some of those fancy concerts and some of those fancy meals that you had in your movie. Those look really great.
Didn't they? They were amazing. Those big lobsters that were like incredible.
Eating a big meal, eating out is a luxury that we all miss, I think. So I guess the first question is, like, how did you get involved in this? This is I loved the historical aspect of it. I loved kind of the sets, but how did you get involved? What kind of caught your eye about this script? I'm sure you get lots of scripts. So what was it about this one that really kind of caught your attention?
Well, this was based on a book I read called The Moon and the Sun by Vonda McIntyre. And it was in a big competition, I remember, against Game of Thrones, and it won the Nuba Award. I got to get it like straight, but it was just really well written. And, and I got together with the producers. They wrote a script that was phenomenal, and it had action, it had adventure, it had love, it had a mermaid in it, and it all took place at Versailles. So when I read it, I just connected to it immediately. I just thought this is an amazing project and a great love story and a great family story.
And so I love that you were kind of involved on this from the start, right? Like sometimes a script will come across your desk, but you kind of sought this out and said, hey, we should make a movie about this because it'll have everything you mentioned, love, action, drama, history, all that stuff.
It had it all. And it was a great group of people. It was, and then the chance to get to shoot in France at Versailles, that's what made it even more special.
Yeah. So I guess that was one thing I was wondering, like, I was curious because it looked so realistic. Like, this was actually filmed at Versailles? I thought like maybe this would be CG, but that looked like some really tough CG to do. It looked too real to be that.
That's real. When we were doing the movie, I never thought in a million years we were going to shoot at Versailles. I went to Europe because I heard there's these villas that look like Versailles in Germany, and we drove around Germany and we were looking for buildings and places that were friendly and all of that. And at the end of that trip, I said, you know what, I want to go to Versailles for one day and just take pictures. So I know maybe later we'll come back and take pictures, and we will green screen and put them in front of famous places. Mm-hmm. So we literally went into the front doors and talked to them. And I said, we're making a movie. And they said, well, just a minute, we're going to have you talk to somebody. So I just thought, oh, I'm going to get a free tour because I said I'm making a movie. So they said, well, why don't you shoot here? And I went, because it's Versailles and you're too expensive. It's a small little film. And besides, it's about a mermaid in all your fountains. And they go, oh, we love mermaids and we love fantasy and we love, and I'm like, okay, but I don't think we're going to be able to afford it. It doesn't make sense. But they gave me the tour. I gave them the script. They called back and said, you can shoot here. And I'm like, but they give me incredible things. Like we could only shoot indoors on Mondays. So we had like 3 Mondays there. We could shoot overnight from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m., but there could not be one cord left when we walked out of the building, because it's like Disneyland. When you go in there, it's like 80,000 people a day go through Versailles. So we had to start at 7 p.m., bring in all our equipment, our cameras, our lights were like on these big trucks that went out the side, the Hall of Mirrors, and then they'd all raise up like machines, pointing the lights inside. And then we would finish shooting at 6 a.m. All the lights would come down and drive out in a straight line, and not one cable was left on the ground, so the crowds could come in. So it made it challenging, but we got to shoot in the real location. And that's why it looks so real, because it's really where we did it.
And that's amazing. It's almost like one of those, like, be careful what you wish for, because you got what you wanted, which makes the film look so much better. But then you're like, how am I going to do this logistically? So
it was a logistical challenge. But I got to tell you, the French people who ran Versailles, since they know, like, the only people I knew that shot there before was like Woody Allen and Sofia Coppola. And I'm like thinking they're big directors, big famous people, and they would do stuff. But the team at Versailles helped us through, showed what we could and couldn't do. And by the way, we could shoot there in the day as long as we were outside, but we had to cordon off the areas. So we would pick where the camera was going to go, in the horses, and literally tens of thousands of people would line up and watch us. And Pierce would ride his horse out and we'd say cut. And then the people would all walk through the frames, and then we'd do take 2, and Pierce would ride his horse through the middle of Versailles. It was fantastic. But yeah, we were really blessed to get that group of people to help us logistically pull it off.
Yeah, and then also, kind of to your point, that also makes it a difficult schedule for the actors. I mean, they're professionals, but shooting from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. because that's when you only have is a rough transition for someone that's not used to that.
It is. It's flipping the clock. I mean, my gosh, and so you're up all night, and they're dancing in the Hall of Mirrors and all this stuff. So I think that helped. We had a lot of coffee, and then we'd play the music really loud so that they could wake themselves up. But it was a challenge. And after about 2 or 3 in the morning, you kind of go into a weird zone anyway, where you're just like kind of not awake, or it's like you're partying all night. And that's how we kind of addressed it, and that's how we got through it.
And then so once you had the location, I guess, did you have any help on the costumes? I guess that's just kind of your prop department, or trying to find someone local who has all the authentic looking costumes. I mean, they were fantastical, but they looked kind of what I expect court would have looked like back in the days.
So interesting you said that, because I love it. Lizzie Gardner, who won an Oscar, she was our costume designer, and everything was built from scratch for the movie. And so the idea was that there was a hint of history there, because it kind of looks like it, but you could also pick it off a rack today and wear it to a party. That was the whole key, to make it like couture, like it's like something that like hinted to the history. And Lizzie Gardner she's just she won for Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. She won the Oscar. I don't know if you remember, but she wore the gold American Express cards to the ceremony. And she's just one of the most talented costume designers I've ever worked with. So when I look at those costumes, I said, when I talked with her, I said, I want it to be like how Gladiator was, where you could see and feel the fabric, the felt. And she just knew how to do that, and literally had like hundreds of seamstresses in a room sewing everything every day to make everybody's costume fit them perfect. And it was a challenge, and she just knocked it out of the park.
Again, I mean, I think you probably took on a little more than you bargained for with this movie, because that sounds like again, an amazing experience. But wow, what a endurance run that must have been.
It was, but it was, we just got great people around us. It was a great script, and we went for it, and it turned out fantastic.
And so, I imagine all the main scenes were filmed in Versailles. There's other scenes kind of like in a cavern with some water. Was that a different set, or does Versailles have some sort of like underground boat dock or I don't know, well in there that you were able to use?
So we shot for about a month at Versailles and around Paris and around Notre Dame and all of that. And then we all moved to Melbourne, Australia. So the cavern that you're talking about is built on a massive set there at Dockland Studios. And it was amazing. I mean, I've worked on a lot of sets, but I've never had one built for me that big. And, it had a water tank in it, and it was incredible. But it was not just shot in those 2 places, because at one point, the water was too murky for me to get close-ups of her face, and we tried to shoot on the last day in like a little tank, and Kaya she was getting goose pimples, she was freezing. I said, let's just not do this. Let's just shoot it when we get back into LA. So the close-ups of her are in our producer's pool in Beverly Hills. That's where we got the close-ups of her. When she's looking up over the cliff, I needed a couple more close-ups. We went to Malibu and we shot that on the beach. And when they're actually in the ocean swimming around, I shot that off the coast of California in Hermosa Beach. So it's literally was shot all over the world to bring you what you got to see.
So I'm just sitting here thinking like France, Australia, Malibu. Like, can I be in your next movie? Can I do anything in your next movie for this kind of a trip? That sounds amazing.
It was so cool. I mean, and that's the magic of film. Like, it doesn't really matter where you are. You got to get pieces to build it all together. But we literally, you know, the sets, the main sets, like the Hall of Mirrors and the chapel and all that stuff, that was at Versailles. But like the king's bedroom, and then the king's den, that was shot in Melbourne. And then on that, some of those we used real sets that we built 4 walls, and then some we build like 1 or 2 walls. But we did go around Versailles and take pictures of the real things, and then we CG'd those in together. So it's a very much of a combination of the real, the CG world, and then the built world. So it was an amazing adventure to do that.
Just movie magic at work right there.
Exactly.
And speaking of probably the most important pieces in the film, although I guess Versailles might actually be the most important piece in this film. Yeah, I love the cast. I love Pierce Brosnan and his amazing flowing locks. God, I wish I could have those. I love Kaya.
Right there you
go. This is just my normal hair. I love Kaya. How did you get them involved? Did you get them early and then get the set? Did you get like everything set up and then kind of shop around who you wanted to play these characters?
Yeah, well, it started out with, we thought Pierce was going to be just amazing. So Pierce invited us to his house in Malibu, by the way. And it was so funny because he poured us orange juice and had little scones set. And I was like, oh, this is James Bond, like setting the table for us. And I just showed him a bunch of pictures of the sets and what we wanted to do. He had read the script. And we talked to him and we said, you know, we'd really like you to do this. And what would you want? Because one of the things I really like about actors is they bring themselves to it. And I think what Pierce responded to was the fact that he's an artist himself, as well as an actor, and he dances, if you've seen Mamma Mia and so forth. And that's what the real King Louis XIV did. He was an artist. He was a painter. He was a dancer. He did theater. So I think that's what connected with Pierce. And he rode horses and all of that stuff. So when we talked about what the real character was, that really intrigued Pierce, and then he signed on to do it. And then Kaya, we were looking for a young ingenue, somebody who could like own the screen, stand up to Pierce. And she was brought to me. There were a lot of actresses brought to me, but she, my gosh, she's just so talented. And she just has a look about her that she's beautiful, and you just fall into her blue eyes. She just has this way about it, and she's so unassuming and yet powerful on screen. I'm sure you saw, like, when she's standing up to him and, you know, yelling at her father. It's just a performance that I would just be sitting at the monitor going, oh my God, she's so real. She's so incredible. But those 2 actors were just incredibly talented and came and gave their gift to us.
Yeah, and she has such a strength to her too. Like it's very, like you said, kind of unassuming, but then when she wants to like be a strong, powerful character, she can just project it somehow, I guess, with her eyes and kind of with her expressions.
Yeah, just incredible.
And I think does she have a swimming background? Because I know she was in crawl. I think I read somewhere that she like swam in college, because I wonder if that helped her in some of these water scenes that she had to film.
I don't know. It was very tricky though, because it's so funny when you go underwater, all these bubbles like go on your face. So the first thing they have to do is wipe their face and their hair, and all the bubbles like go away. And the tricky part is she had to hold her breath. And it's funny because Fan Bingbing, who plays the mermaid, they would have to go down together and hold their breaths. And literally, it was just wild to see that. And Fan Bingbing, for some reason, could like hold her breath for 5 minutes, and Kaya could hold it for like 30 seconds. Kaya would come up, and then she'd come down, and they'd keep shooting. Kaya would come up and keep down. It was like amazing how all that kind of worked.
That sounds like an ordeal. I mean, I've heard when ever you have like a water scene in a movie, it is difficult because of the logistics of it and the cold. You know, that water is invariably cold no matter what temperature it is. It always, is cold, and it's tough to kind of get the right shot. So, and then also apparently going up and down for air. That sounds like another big challenge that this movie had.
It was a challenge, but it was a great challenge. And again, these are consummate actors. I mean, my goodness, Fan Bingbing, we had dots all over her face. So her performance is real. And even the sound she made, we recorded, and that became part of the soundtrack. But and then Kaya was really underwater, and we would do these scenes together, and we'd first rehearse them out of the water and make sure they had it, and then we drop them underneath the water. And you're right. I mean, we're what, 98.6 is our temperature. So anything under 98.6, even when it's like 80-degree water, 85, which it was, it's still cooling your body down over the course of hours in the pool.
Yeah.
And so it was a challenge, but all doable.
And so one thing I was also wondering is, you said this was based on a book. Is the original story, is it all kind of a fantasy, or was there some, I don't know, strange legend or folklore about Louis XIV? I'm sure there's tons of them, but was this based on any sort of like French legend about him, that he had maybe like an illegitimate daughter that he sent to a convent or something like that?
Well, sure. Vonda McIntyre, who's the author of the book, The Moon and the Sun, she went over to France and researched it. And so what she did is she took a real person from history and then added fantasy to that. Mm-hmm. So all of it's based in a certain degree of reality of what the real King Louis XIV did and had. So yeah, that's all like true. But then she added the elements of a mermaid. She added all these other elements to make it a fantasy.
Yeah, probably. And then the court drama and the eclipse aspect of it was probably also added as well. Yeah.
That was it. That was in the movie, in the book, and we pulled that to be part of the movie.
Another tough scene, another Hollywood movie magic scene.
Well, you know what I love? I love CGI. It started probably when Jurassic Park came out, and they like figured out how to make it really look real. Like we used to before, like kind of accept things that didn't look 100% real. And every, decade, they just make it better and better and better, to the point where now it's like everything looks real, all photoreal. And I love that aspect of it. And so it's the mixture of real life, real actors breathing words into the characters, and then the CGI aspect, whether it be a set or a CG character. It's just, I mean, now you can go anywhere in your mind. And what I love is that you can even do effects on your phone. Your cell phone is becoming like, I feel like the real artist of a director is going to be shown now, because before you could write by yourself, you could paint by yourself, you could do music by yourself, but you could never make a movie by yourself. Now technology has allowed the real filmmaking artists to come through.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I agree. Like CG, when it's done well, it's amazing. When it's done not so well, it can be distracting, but luckily this did a really good job. So so I know we have limited time, so I want to switch. I call it the lightning round. They're just very lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your experiences map to things that happen in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of these questions. I will not be offended at all, but I try to keep them very answerable. So the first question is, Marie had a couple secret talents, but the one I liked the most was her kind of composing ability, her ability to compose. She also had a certain amount of swimming ability. Do you have a secret talent that not that many people know about?
I don't know. I think my secret talent is to get hundreds of people together and use their secret talents to just thrive on film. I mean, I'm a musician. I love any movies with music. So like the cello aspect of it was amazing. But Marie-Joseph and Kaya didn't really know how to play the cello. So literally my magic was, there was our actress holding the bow, but there was another musician behind her moving the fingers. Because being a musician, I wanted it to look real. I didn't want to, like, you can tell when somebody's faking. And I said, okay, I need to teach her one hand. And so if you like literally looked hard, you could probably tell that there's somebody else's hand doing things. And so that, again, is the magic of filmmaking, that no matter how you do it, you get it to work. And I love doing that. So I think I'm a jack of all trades, a master at none, but I can pull out the mastery of other people.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty good talent to be fair. Like being able to make other people do their best is a great talent to have. I do actually want to ask about the musical instrument scene, because there was a cello that was destroyed. Was that a painful thing to do? I assume it was a prop, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know exactly how that was put together.
You know, it's so funny because I love musical instruments and it makes me crazy when we do that. And I even did that in a movie I did like 20 years ago called Raise Your Voice, where I dropped the cello and all the musicians are like, oh my gosh. And I go, that's why I'm doing it, because it makes people shake. And there's that scene when she pushes over the harp, but that was a really expensive harp, so she couldn't do it. So if you notice, I have her start to push it and then we cut to his reaction where we hear the smashing sound. And a few instruments got destroyed, but not all of them.
Yeah, it's for the art, right? They'll live on in memory. So, in the film, Marie was sent away to be raised somewhere else. Did you ever like get not sent away, but did you ever go away from home when you were growing up? I don't know, like a boarding school or private school, or I don't know, even a summer camp, maybe to kind of be raised somewhere else for a little bit?
You know, no, it's odd. I grew up in Burbank, California, where they used to shoot The Tonight Show. And my school was 11 houses away from my house. And so I walked a very short distance. I went to Loyola High School, which was in downtown Los Angeles, where I had to take a bus every day. It felt like I was gone away to boarding school, but I pretty much stayed close to home until I went away to college.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, if you're in California, you don't really want to leave, so that makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Louis XIV was known as the Sun King. Do you have any sort of nickname?
Mac Attack.
That's a good nickname.
William Hurt said I direct like a Mack truck. I think what he means is I'm fast. I'm like, I one or two takes, and I understand, like people think one or two takes, but it's from every angle, once I know I have like 8 angles, I do 1 or 2 takes. I don't need more than that because I know I'm going to cut all over the place. And he's not used to somebody going that fast. And I'm like, well, we're moving on. And he's going, this is my second take. And it was the genius take.
Again, that sounds like a superpower too. Being able to direct a movie in 1 or 2 takes is a pretty amazing power.
It's very lucky, but that's because I have just great actors in front of the camera. That's how we did it.
Definitely. The film starts with a fishing scene. When was the last time you went fishing?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I was in the Florida Keys, and I went fishing a few years ago, and I just loved it because we went fishing and then we went right to a restaurant and had the fish prepared, like blackened fish and baked and breaded. And it was, for me, if you're going to eat meat or fish, as long as you eat it, it's good. And that was good.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really good.
Very good.
The film is also about Louis XIV trying to kind of stay young, stay alive. What do you do to stay young, stay healthy?
I try to go to the gym. I love going to the gym. I don't go to the gym enough. I mean, COVID just knocked me when they closed the gyms.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have gone to the gym enough in the last 2 years.
Really bad. And then I live near the beach in Los Angeles, and they closed the beaches. So during that period that I wasn't being able to walk, it was unbelievable. So that I couldn't do that either. So, but generally, I like to surf and I like to go to the gym.
Both good things. Have you ever freed an animal and had it go back to nature? Like, I don't know, freed an animal from a trap, sent your goldfish down the drain, like anything like that?
I don't know if I've like freed one. I love animals. I mean, if I could be a vegetarian, a vegan, I would most certainly be that, because I do love all animals. But I don't know if I've ever like freed one. I mean, I've had dogs all my life. I've had goldfish. I've had birds. One bird got out of the cage once, and I had to talk him down over it. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
All good things. And last question is, do you think you could rock Louis XIV hair?
Oh, man. Not only do I think I could, I usually used to completely do that. If I could move fast enough here, I'll show you pictures.
Yes.
Of me rocking Louis the 14th hair. Hold on a second. Ask me another question while I find you a picture of.
Well, that was the last one. So the next question, I'll just use movie magic to fix this up.
I can find it in 10 seconds. Okay, here's one. This wasn't as long ago as Soul Surfer, but that looks pretty much like.
I love it.
14.
That's awesome. I I tried to grow my hair out during COVID. It did not look nearly that awesome. So I had to trim it very quickly. So
You have to grow it long. Oh, here's me when I did Soul Surfer. There you go.
I love that. That looks awesome. Yeah, I can see the hair. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
So yes, you definitely can rock Louis XIV hair, and probably should. I mean, enjoy it while you can.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so the film comes out in theaters on January 21st, 2022. You are out promoting the film, trying to get the word out. After that, I assume you have other stories you want to tell. What can people look for after this film?
I have an amazing story about a whale that was in Nova Scotia that it's kind of a Free Willy sort of thing. So I think I like all marine type stories.
I detect the trend.
Water. So that's what you should be looking for next. And yeah, I love that's this Friday, a couple of days from now. It'll be in theaters nationwide, worldwide.
Excellent. And yeah, so you can check it out in theaters on January 21st, 2022. The film is The King's Daughter, and this is Sean McNamara, the director. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you. That was Sean McNamara talking about The King's Daughter, which is coming to theaters on January 21st, 2022. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me and France out a lot. And please check out my other content. I've got other movie reviews, interviews, unboxing videos, and recommendations. Thank you.